Lately I've been feeling things.
There's a little teaser of our new intro. This is the Triple Play Fantasy Basketball Show. I am your host, Coach James Lewis, and I'm back coaching again after more than a month off. The last time I was coaching was December 21st. Our season's back in order. Due to COVID protocols, we had a delay, but we got a W that makes 4 in a row dating back to last year. We're rolling, Jacob, and it feels good to be back.
Let's go.
On the sideline, coaching my boys as behaviors started getting crazy in school. And now that's what sports are for, to keep a little order, keep them in line. And I'm back to, coaching and mentorship, which my main passion and what I love to do. And as always, my co-host, Mr. Jacob Dunn.
Yes, sir. I have officially been placed on the COVID IR until the good Lord takes me off of it. I've been resting as much as possible, but you couldn't keep me away from this show. All right. Our goal is to help you guys win a fantasy basketball title, and COVID won't stop me from accomplishing that. So
He's
let's go.
Soldier. He still shows up to work.
Let's do it.
With the COVID, but he's being safe. He's behind closed doors.
Yes, sir.
If you do have it, stay inside. You never know the ramifications of when you're out there in the public. Right. The All-Star starters were named. Any takeaways? Any surprises? Any eyebrow raises?
So I'm surprised by the Andrew Wiggins selection. I think it's a long time coming, but he's having an incredible year. He has really been that glue on that Warriors team this season. So I'm happy for him. And also Nikola Jokic. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. I mean, he's been the number one fantasy player, the number one player in the league. The only reason why the Denver Nuggets are even in the playoff conversation is because of Jokic. Dealing with all those injuries with Michael Porter Jr., with Jamal Murray. Jokic is the man, averaging almost 30 points, 14 boards, 9 assists. I mean, the dude is on another level. So I'm glad that he's getting the recognition that he deserves, and he deserves another MVP in my opinion. But I digress.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fingers are pointing towards Embiid being the most likely favorite. And at one point, you could have got him at a 50-1 MVP odds. And so people that put some money on Joel Embiid, they're hoping that he doesn't sustain an injury throughout this season, because the narrative is leaning more towards him, especially with Steph Curry's kind of shooting woes.
Right.
I kind of agree with you on the Wiggins thing. It was a standings award. And people were voting for him. I don't think that he was the best player in that position. I think his former teammate, Cat, with the way he's been playing this season, and I would go with him over him. My personal pick is Rudy Gobert, leading the league in rebounds in that Utah team. He's the engine that could. But as you know, Andrew Wiggins does not miss games. So that does help with an injury-riddled season. Shout out DeMar DeRozan over there in Chicago for getting a nod his first time starting, and he's well-deserved as game winners, clutch, just incredible performances this year, carrying that Chicago Bulls team. So
definitely, absolutely.
So let's get it. Let's get you ready for Week 16 NBA fantasy basketball. Looking to the upcoming schedule, games played, under rostered free agents, people to recommend picking up, waiver wire selects, safe floor pickups, criminally under rostered players, drop candidates, streams, daily pickups, and at the end we shout out player performances of the week. So we're going to start with games played, and there's only one team that stands out to me. The Utah Jazz only have 2 games, which is good for Rudy Gobert because he is sustaining a calf injury.
Right.
And people that put that on note and noticed our top pickup this week. All other teams are playing 3 or 4 games. There are 12 teams that play 3 games. There are 17 teams that play 4. Hassan Whiteside, though, we just talked about Gobert being out with the calf, and anytime he's out, you got to get Hassan Whiteside because his per 36 with his points, rebounds, and blocks, and then field goal percentage is always off the charts. His last performance against Phoenix, he had 16 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 stocks. That's what you're kind of relying on when it comes to Hassan Whiteside. But again, Utah only plays 2 games, so he might be a little bit of fool's gold. right now. Number two, somebody else benefiting from players being out, and that is Bismack Biyombo. And man, I'm so happy for this guy having kind of a resurgence of his career. He's kind of been a disappointing lottery pick once upon a time, but playing over there in Phoenix with CP3 running the show. He's been a rim runner. He's been super duper active. He's looking like a young rookie or second year player with the type of energy he's playing. And this last week, he averaged 16 points, 11 rebounds, shooting 65% over there around the rim. And he gives you stocks as well.
He's outplaying JaVale McGee,
which is surprising because JaVale McGee was having, one of the best seasons. And then Jalen Smith, who was playing very well before they signed Biyombo, was, getting some minutes, but struggling to get that starter type of minutes that you almost expect from a number 10 overall pick and somebody that was flashing greatness. And just kind of shows how great of a orchestrator CP3 is, that any big man you put with him is successful. Dating back to Tyson Chandler and anybody that you can think of, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. If you're a big man, I would love to play with Chris Paul, the point guard. So shout out Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns that just look like the best team in basketball, no matter who is out there, as long as you got D-Book and CP3.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to send the next ad to Mr. Jacob Dunn, and he's trying to tell you, get on top of it before the guy comes back and he's no longer there in the free agent list.
Yes, guys, Nic Claxton. All right, make sure the 22-year-old big man isn't available in your league. All right, before missing 7 games due to a hamstring injury, Claxton was averaging 13.6 points on 70% field goal shooting, 6.7 boards, 1.6 blocks, and 0.9 steals over his previous 10 games. All right, you could make the argument that he did all that with LaMarcus Aldridge out. And while LMA is a slight threat to those numbers, he's also 36 years old and has missed his fair share of games. All right, Nicholas is the big man you want in Brooklyn moving forward.
And, well, I just have to mention that Kevin Durant is out and the ball is in James Harden's hands. And that's a preview to our player of the week. But with the ball being in James Harden's hands, you got a lot of pick and roll, a lot of rim running, and they definitely have synergy.
Yes.
Claxton and Harden, that is. Moving on to Jacob's second pick, which is, a little bit safe, and the guy that's having a great bounce back year for, one of the best teams in the NBA.
Yes. Otto Porter Jr. is starting in place of the injured Draymond Green and is averaging 12.3 points, 6.3 boards, 1.8 threes, and 1.5 steals while shooting 58% from the field over his last 4 games. All right. We all thought that Jonathan Kuminga was the guy to roster while Draymond Green was out, but Steve Kerr changed his mind and has elected to play Otto. So stream Porter Jr. for as long as Draymond is on the shelf.
And man, he's kind of a walking meme with him looking a lot like Wilt Chamberlain and the way he's been performing on these holidays. My wife even said he looks like Lionel Richie, and every time he hits a 3, she just, hello.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
And I'm rolling every time. But shout out Otto Porter Jr. from the Washington area. We gave him max, and clearly was overpaid. We kind of were in a bind that off season. And when you get paid that much money, you get criticized, much like Andrew Wiggins. So to have a resurgence, find a perfect role in that system, he's a catalyst to this team. And man, the Warriors are dangerous. They're missing their boy Draymond big time, but if they get him back in the playoffs, this is a very, very scary team.
Definitely.
Moving on to another guy benefiting from injury.
Yes, Gabe Vincent. All Gabe does is produce when his number is called. All right, he has started the last 6 games for Kyle Lowry and is averaging a cool 13.7 points, 5 dimes, 3 threes, and 2 stocks during that span. Lowry has been out due to personal reasons, so he could essentially return any day now, but we're going on 6 games, all right, and Vincent has been balling, all right, so Gabe should be added and streamed if you need points, assists, threes, and steals, and who doesn't need that, right?
Yeah, and in his last game, he had 23 points, 7 3-pointers, gave you some rebounds, a couple assists, and you just gotta love what they're doing down there in Miami. But these guys, they know their role when their number is called. As you mentioned, Lowry's out, he plays heavy minutes. Bam was out. Yurt 7 was playing heavy minutes and destroying in fantasy. And then as soon as those stars come back, they go back to their role, which is basically not playing at all. So Spo likes to give heavy minutes to his players. And it's a strategy that's been working as they're the number one team in the Eastern Conference, despite all the injuries that they've accumulated. Two guys that are hot over there in the West Coast. Sorry, Jacob. I could catch that. Two guys over there hot in the West Coast. The one that I seen in my eye, I couldn't believe it watching the game. I'm sending the score to buddies as we're up 35 in the first half. I couldn't believe it as the second half unwound, and Luke Kennard goes bananas in the last 8 seconds. He gets 7 points, including your game-winning 4-point play. He's my top ad for the week because he's just producing all around. And last week, he averaged 20.6 rebounds, giving you 3.3 assists, hitting 4 threes a game. And this is with Amir Coffey playing well as well. And that's another guy that I'm recommending you pick up. But against Miami, 23.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 3-pointers made. And, of course, he went ballistic against the Wizards. So did this guy, Amir Coffey. As Amir, grab yourself a cup of coffee.
That's right.
Has 29 points, 5 rebounds, 3 3-pointers, and 3 stocks against Washington. And those two really were the 1 and 2s that got that team back in. And it's funny because they play similar positions, but they play well together because of the versatility. They both are relatively good passers, and they both can hit the 3. And they found a role there in Ty Lue's system with PG-13 out, with Kawhi Leonard out. In the last 2 weeks, is a nice sample size. He's averaged 15 points, 3.6 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 2.4 threes a game, and giving you a steal. So that kind of wraps up our pickups for the week. Moving on to streamers, you must stream Willy Hernangomez today. JV is out sick, right? He has an illness. It's not COVID. Right. As long as JV doesn't play, Willy Hernangomez needs to play. In the last week with JV out, with no Brandon Ingram, 23.5 points a game, 13 boards. And these are the 2 games. He had 18 points, 16 boards, 3 assists, 4 stocks against Denver. And he had 29 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists against Philly. He is a must stream for today, Saturday. If you're catching this, we'll see what happens next week. Double down on another streamer, Maxi Kleber. He plays Saturday and Sunday. Again, if you're watching this on Saturday, pick him up. You got 2 games, and you can go ahead and drop him on Monday if you need to. 9 points, 4 rebounds. He's going to hit you 2 threes. This last week, he gave you 3 stocks, 2 blocks, and a steal. So he produces on the defensive end. Again, I've been on the record saying that he's not good enough to start on a Mavericks team that's just been going crazy. But Jacob, what's your opinion on Maxi Kleber?
I was just going to say, originally Kleber was just supposed to be streamed until Kristaps Porzingis came back, but Maxi is sticking in the starting lineup and averaging 1.1 blocks over his past 7 games, with Porzingis starting alongside him. So, like you said, James, Kleber has a back-to-back starting Saturday. So if you need to maximize those moves and need blocks and threes, along with low-end rebounds, assists, and steals, give Kleber a shot.
There you have it. And I'm sending it to Jacob again for something that he decided to create, and I was all on board. And this is criminally under-rostered players.
Yes. So first up on the criminally under-rostered players, Dorian Finney-Smith. All right, he is only rostered in about 40% of Yahoo leagues, and I feel like his ownership always fluctuates, but he is a consistent 3-and-D guy. I mean, look at those. 9.3 points, 4.3 boards, 2.3 assists, 1.7 steals, 0.7 blocks. All right. And he doesn't hurt you in any one area. All right. The field goal percentage isn't great, but it usually sticks around 45% or so, and low on turnovers. And that is a 9-cat darling. So pick him up if you need someone who can help across the board without hurting you virtually anywhere.
I wanted to ask you about Dorian Finney-Smith, the state of the Mavericks as far as their future is concerned. Do they make a move at the trade deadline? They are surging in the Western Conference. They're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. You have to make a decision. Dorian Finney-Smith, as well as Jalen Brunson, who's having a career year, are both due to be restricted free agents. Do you pull the plug and make a move? I mean, you're not going to get as much in return since they're not on contract. trading them. And who do you see as the better fit for Luka going forward?
I think that DFS is just a glue guy on any team. I don't think the Mavs get rid of DFS. If anything, they will trade Jalen Brunson just because he is that backup point guard, even though he's extremely reliable for the Mavericks. It's just, I think that they can get a lot back for him, a guy who can help them produce and get over the hump. Because like you said, the Mavericks are 5th in the Western Conference. All right, so they have a legitimate shot here with no teams really in the Western Conference like blowing you away. Like, oh, wow, the Suns are going to win it. The Warriors are going to win it. The Grizzlies are going to win it. The Jazz are going to win it. The Mavericks have a decent shot here, and DFS is staying just because I think that he meshes well with Luka Doncic, and you want that 3 and D guy on your championship squad.
And I like that argument you made there. You could probably get more in return for Jalen Brunson.
Right.
I'm just a huge Jalen Brunson fan and believer. It's 2 championships, and Villanova playing 2 different, completely different roles. One is a freshman, one is as an older cat, and he's finally caught his footing here in the NBA, getting the opportunity under Jason Kidd's tutelage. I say pay that guy and make a move for Dorian Finney-Smith. Although they both fit very well around Luka, and they are a dangerous team with the way that Kristaps Porzingis is playing.
Definitely. All right, guys, Brandon Clarke. I don't know why his ownership keeps fluctuating. He's now at 37%, minus 7% from last week, but he keeps producing. All right, 15 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists, over 70% field goal shooting, and he provides those stocks, especially those blocks, and blocks are a very rare category. All right, so Brandon Clarke is going to play heavy minutes for as long as Dillon Brooks is out, and Dillon Brooks, as far as we know, has at least 2 to 3 weeks left on the shelf. All right, so Brandon Clarke, stream him if you need field goal percentage, if you need points, low-end rebounds, and especially those blocks. All right, roster him, stream him, and play him until Dillon Brooks is back, and even keep him after that to see if he can keep those minutes going off the bench.
Love Brandon Clarke. He does give you, kind of a dud a couple games
every now and then,
but don't press the cut button on him, because you see in his last game he had 23 points and field goal percentage off the charts. Energy definitely has a chemistry with Ja Morant. I really like Brandon Clarke, but this is a criminally under rostered player in only 37%.
Absolutely.
Moving on to some safety belts, and one guy, Cody Martin, is his twin brother, Caleb Martin. Both of them have been featured here on fantasy free agent pickups, but with Gordon Hayward out, he's a guy that is a safe pick.
Yes, the better Martin brother. I'm just kidding.
I'm about to say, wait, what?
Hey, Cody Martin is getting his opportunity right now. And over his last 4 games for Charlotte, he's averaging 7.3 points, 5 boards, 2.3 dimes, and 1.8 stocks, while averaging over 30 minutes per game during that span. All right, Cody isn't going to wow you in any one stat, but he is a 9-cat darling and will be a nightly 20-plus point threat in points leagues. So I would definitely give him a look if you need those consistent stocks with low-end rebounds, assists, and points, especially like you said, James, with Gordon Hayward out with protocol.
And the 2 twins they went to Nevada and took the NCAA tournament by storm. What versatility these wings play. They can run the 1, they 2, the 3, they play 4, they play big, they're tough. You gotta love these twins. Like, it's like the Morris twins. These guys are just hoopers. They're really good basketball players, and so I'm happy for his opportunity and them and their family.
Absolutely. I like this pick a lot. All right, Davion Mitchell. All right, he has been playing heavy minutes lately and averaging 13 points, 2 boards, 4.2 dimes with 2 threes and a steal. All right, he's been getting those consistent minutes. I think it's because the Kings are trying to showcase him to try to land Ben Simmons, which has been nixed because the Sixers are just asking way too much for Ben Simmons. But Davion Mitchell is a special talent, and he has been low-key balling off the bench all season. All right, he puts up duds every now and then, but he's getting those consistent minutes in the 20s and sometimes 25. So I would definitely give him a look in deeper leagues, but watch him for now in shallower leagues.
Yeah, and he drops dimes. The biggest thing that I've seen in the last week or two is his 3-point production. Moving that line a little bit further back in his track record in college it was only that senior season where he really went crazy from three, shooting 45%, but the other seasons were, lower 30s. So the fact that he's shooting the three ball well is intriguing, and we all know that the Kings have just a million guards, and they, we're hoping that the NBA world wants them to make some moves here, see some players in different destinations, so that some of these players can shine a little bit more, because you really just don't know what you're going to get outside of De'Aaron Fox.
Latest rumors are that they're really trying to push for Sabonis now, Domantas Sabonis of Indiana. So one of these guards or two of these guards are going to get shipped, and it might even be Davion Mitchell, because he does have that talent, that promise, and the Pacers want to rebuild. So that's definitely someone that you should think about stashing before the trade deadline, just in case.
Yeah, when that's the preview on Doman, because we like what we saw in his return this week, and I selfishly, as a Wizards fan, would like to see him in a Wizards uniform. And of course, that's not trading Bradley Beal, but some of these other players that have been balling out. I wouldn't mind throwing out a one pick as well. People to watch, people that are benefiting again from injury.
Kessler Edwards, guys. Who? Mr. Edwards has been playing
University.
He's been playing monster minutes. All right, over his past 7 games, he's averaging 9.4 points, 5 rebounds, 1.7 threes, and 1.9 stocks in 34.4 minutes. All right. I know he's not super exciting, but he's been a top 100 fantasy 9-cat player over his last 2 weeks and top 150 over the last week. And he's only rostered in 6% of Yahoo. All right. The rookie out of Pepperdine deserves a look while he's racking up this many minutes and while KD is out.
He's had 5 straight games with at least 5 rebounds too. So it's been consistent in the last 7 games. He's had at least 30 minutes, and some of those games have been like high 30. So they're definitely using him as a defensive anchor in that team that's being run by James Harden right now, and a strict watch guy, Cam Reddish. We're still waiting for him and to see him play with RJ Barrett in the New York Knicks. Somebody that we don't recommend you picking up, but somebody that who a new place, it might spark him going for the rest of the season.
Yes, absolute strict watch, guys. Don't add him yet, but just in case Tom Thibodeau ramps up his minutes, just watch him. If his minutes slowly start to climb, I would make the add in deeper leagues, but watch him in shallower leagues for sure.
And now it is time for our player of the week.
Pow.
Send it to Jacob's way for a man that came back, and fantasy owners are smiling ear to ear if you're a Domantas Sabonis owner.
You said it, my man. Domantas Sabonis stole the show last night in his return from his ankle injury, posting 24 points, 18 boards, 10 dimes, a cool triple-double, along with 4 stocks, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. All right. A very, very well-rounded fantasy night, and he was the number 1 rated fantasy player on Friday night. And he had 67.6 fantasy points. So welcome back, Sabonis. My goodness.
And if you're DFS and you're looking at schedules, the team that plays Oklahoma City, usually their stars go crazy. They look forward to this matchup because they can pat their stats, and that's a wonderful triple-double. And Mr. All-Star injury replacement, looks like he just missed too many games this year to get pushed in. But, if his season stats scream All-Star. And
absolutely, he should be. I would be shocked. I would be upset if he doesn't get in some way, somehow into the All-Star game. All right. This guy is a bona fide All-Star.
Interesting. I don't know if he gets in just because the Pacers usually are playoff-esque around that bubble, and they're just having a very down year. I don't know. We shall see when we see that players get rewarded for having better records, as we see Andrew Wiggins there in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
My guy is James the Beard Harden. This guy knew this just in. He can still play basketball at a very elite level, and especially fantasy wise. And on this season, he's averaging 23 points, 8 rebounds, and leading the league in 10.1 assists. And that number just keeps coming up with KD out and the ball in his hands against LA. He had 33 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists in that AD return game in which they lost. But against Sacktown, he had 37. 10 rebounds, 11 assists. I know we're almost accustomed to these type of prolific numbers from James Harden, but we just can't forget how valuable of a one fantasy asset, but then just leader of a basketball team and one of our our greatest players of this generation. So you got any words on James the Beard Harden? I know he's had some troubles in the playoffs, and yes, that goes down in your legacy, but he's still a spectacle.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to fantasy basketball, he's a legend. I mean, he's always been a top 10 player ever since, he got the chance to shine away from OKC. Even as a sixth man on to OKC, he was consistent off the bench, but he's just a straight up baller. He is a top 10 fantasy player this year. I mean, you got to love that free throw percentage on top of him just killing it in every single category. All right, even steals and even low key blocks. I mean, like, he's getting it done. And like you said, without KD, he is balling even harder. But I mean, James Harden, I mean, like, there's not much else you can say. I mean, look at those eyes. I mean, he's just a beast. He's a man on a mission and wants to win a championship so bad. He just needs to, I don't know what happens to him in the playoffs, but I mean, maybe this is the year where KD's healthy and Kyrie, they get him for home games. You just never know. That's a lot of talent on Brooklyn, and Harden is the man.
There's a lot of rumblings about Harden for Simmons, and they say that Simmons is going to get a hold and it'll happen in the offseason. If you are Nets ownership, would you make that type of move? It just seems like a perfect fit. I mean, I wouldn't say that I would personally do it because the reliability, you can kind of want to see it out with the three of them healthy. You just don't know what James Harden is thinking, but there's been strong murmurs that he wants to pair up with Joel Embiid.
It's extremely interesting to see a basketball world with Ben Simmons and KD on the same team. That's an extremely long team, and if Joe Harris comes back on the Nets, then that gives them a lethal 3-point shooter. But then the Sixers, Embiid and Harden, that sounds awesome. Like, that sounds like a championship caliber team. I would actually prefer that over the Nets team right now. That Nets team with Kyrie only playing home games is kind of a mess. So if you get Harden in Philadelphia, hey man, that's hot.
Yeah, well, Ben Simmons can play third fiddle and be, it won't be all on him as far as like one or two, and he won't have to be asked to shoot the ball because everybody wants KD to be shooting the ball. I mean, you would definitely want some reliability as far as Kyrie being able to play home games and hopefully, the state, as far as the Nets are concerned, the state of New York having the vaccine mandate for their employees being lifted, but that could push you over the edge, the type of defensive tenacity, the guy that can guard all five and play all five positions in Ben Simmons. So just a thought, something I just definitely wanted to hear your opinion on that. And as we roll out, again, we appreciate the viewership. We'll be back at it week 17 again. Anything to plug in before we do a little plug talk?
Just want to say cheers, guys. It's week 16. There's about 5 weeks or so left until the playoffs. Every week counts. So let's make those ads. Let's stream. Let's not be afraid to make that necessary drop for a player who's hot so that we ensure our spot in the playoffs. So cheers, guys, and let's take week 16, all right?
Absolutely, and appreciate you, Jacob, for soldiering through, man. What a professional over there, my buddy in Colorado. So,
my man.
Cheers to you, and prayers to you and your family.
Sure.
On the way out, again, we are a proud member of Fantasy Points Media Group. And please tune in, like, subscribe, comment. We're doing this every week, as well as the football guys, the baseball guys. Shout out to everybody on the team: David, Eric, Kevin, Art, Brad, Johnny. You can check us out on Twitter and IG at Triple Fantasy. Like always, they continue to love the game of basketball like we do. Stay safe, and we'll check you next week for week 17.